Welcome to the Grad Life Podcast, where we talk about all things grad.
I'm Rami.
And I'm Jess.
Today, we're talking about what really matters in a grad school application, how to prepare for the interview, and why it's okay to change careers. All right, let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody. Today, we have two very special guests with us. We have Professor Judy Neubauer, and we have Dr. Scott Bealey. They are both program directors here at Newman.
Yeah. Professor Judy Neubauer is our program director for our Master's in Nursing. And Dr. Scott Bealey is our program director for our Doctorate of Physical Therapy program. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So could you guys just tell us a little bit about yourselves?
My name's Dr. Scott Bealey. I've been at Newman now for, it's going on 26 years, so quite a long time. As you said, I'm the director of the physical therapy program. I started here as a faculty member because I really enjoyed the teaching, but if you stay here long enough, they make you the program director. So
No qualifications needed.
Yeah, none at all. So for about the last, I guess going on 4 years now, I've been the program director.
Yep. And I'm Judy Neubauer. I'm the program director for graduate nursing. And I've been here since 2019, right before the pandemic began.
It's an exciting time to start.
Oh, that was an understatement. But before that, I was adjunct faculty, and I served as a preceptor for some of the students in the graduate program.
Nice. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you for taking time out of your day.
Thank you.
Our guests that we selected to be here today, we just wanted to kind of talk to you guys about what really matters on a graduate school application. Now,
Give us the inside scoop.
yeah. So, you know, the programs that you guys are the director for, I mean, they're rigorous programs, health science programs. So when students are thinking about going into a graduate program to become a doctor of physical therapy or to get their master's in nursing, we really want to know what are the key factors that matter in those graduate school applications. So tell us anything and everything that you want to give insight to without giving away all the nitty-gritty secrets that we may not be allowed to say.
Well, Scott, your program is a lot different than my program as far as admission criteria. You use a special process, right?
Right. So all our applicants have to apply through a centralized application service called PTCAS. So to apply to Newman and to specifically our physical therapy program, you first have to file an application with that centralized application service, PTCAS, and then they in turn send us the application, and then we can evaluate the application.
It's kind of similar to like the Common App, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And for graduate nursing, we have 3 different nurse practitioner programs here at Newman. So folks just go to the website and they go through the application process there. But I think, you know, you're asking about like what makes somebody stand out. And I think that if the student can communicate in writing their why do they want to be a nurse practitioner? And if they can get that point across clearly and, you know, show a little bit of work experience, you know, all along with all of the other basic requirements, to me, a successful applicant is going to be able to articulate why they want to do what they want to do, because that's going to speak to their motivation and their ability to do well in graduate school.
Yeah. Is that like typically a good indicator on how well they're going to do in your program?
I think that having the emotional wherewithal to be able to say, this is why I want to do it, and I've been thinking about it for a while, and maybe life circumstances have now lined up that are going to allow me to go back to school. I think that that's a strong indicator of the likelihood that they'll do well in school.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I would agree with that for our program as well. Our program's a little different than the normal physical therapy program in that we're a weekend format. So a lot of our students are students that are already involved in life. They're not going directly from undergraduate into graduate school. So they've been out working for a while, and they're making a decision to take a big chunk of time out of their life and come into our program. So we definitely like to see that they've thought about it. They have a motivation, a reason why they want to get into the program. And that motivation oftentimes indicates how successful they'll be. If they're really committed to it, then I think that's a key block for succeeding.
Yeah, I agree with that, Scott. And I think that a lot of graduate professional students anywhere, they're working adults. So
Right.
they are in their full-time profession doing something, or they're, at level 1 and they're going back to graduate school to get to level 2. But they're managing work demands, they're managing family demands. Some of them may be managing parental demands, taking care of the parents and taking care of their own kids.
That's a good point.
It's a lot. And, having somebody who has great organizational skills, and they really have it clearly defined, this is why I want to do this. Maybe it's because I want to have a better work-life balance. For my profession, a lot of the students that we get are bedside nurses. And they've been working as RNs in the hospital settings or in the long-term care settings, and they're tired. And certainly the pandemic has played a little bit of havoc with people being exhausted and wanting some sort of change.
Yeah.
And becoming a nurse practitioner is a great work-life balance career. It is. There's a greater salary involved. There is, Monday to Friday. If you get the right job, there's no weekends or call. So it's a nice thing. It's a great reward to have at the end of that education.
Yeah. That might seem like, just thinking of nurses that I know, it might seem like a daunting task. While to get to that place of having weekends off and not being on call or having bad hours might seem like an encouraging factor, but the idea of actually applying to grad school and going to grad school and getting through those couple tough years seem daunting. How would you encourage somebody to get to that point?
Keep your puke bucket handy. It's hard.
Yeah.
And there is a lot to balance, but just like anything in any graduate school, if you just take one step at a time and you look at the thousands of folks that have gone before you and survived it. We've got a great faculty here at Newman, not just in the nursing department, but across the university, that reach out and encourage the students. And I think that if you can find your people to build your support network that you're going to need for those 2+ years or 3 years for physical therapy, that's going to be a key factor in helping you get through.
Yeah, I'll build on that idea of support. We are dealing with a lot of applicants that are oftentimes working full-time and already have experience in the field, which I think is a very good thing. But they also need to have a plan about how they're going to make this education program a priority. And I kind of like to see that in the application as well, that they have some flexibility in their schedule, that they can put in the time they need to for this program, that it's not something they're trying to squeeze in on the side of their life and just expect to be able to continue working, continue all their other commitments, and then just squeeze in a doctorate program. They need to make sure that they have the resources, the support, the flexibility in their schedule, the time management skills to be able to swing all these things and still be successful in our program. So it's something in the application that points to their time management abilities, to their knowledge of what they're getting into is important as well.
Yeah.
That seems to be like the biggest thing, is that time management is something that keeps popping up time and time again with everybody. Like in my cohort, we have people that don't work. We have people that work part-time or full-time.
Yep. That's a great point. And, in the professional programs, a lot of times students are required to do clinical immersion experiences where they're working to obtain the clinical skills needed to become that new nurse practitioner or new physical therapist. And Scott, what is the last year like for your folks?
So Rami's going through it right now, so he can appreciate it.
I do.
Yeah. So they finish up their didactic education. So they finish up the classroom education in the summer and the fall semesters, and then they go on 20 weeks of clinical education. So from then on, it is all just working, sort of solidifying their skills and making sure that they can fulfill the role of a physical therapist.
How many hours do they need in that final?
It has to be 20 weeks. So.
It's weeks that count.
Right.
So it would be difficult, I think, to work while you are trying to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, where our students can work when they're in the classroom portion of the curriculum, it's very difficult to work during the clinicals.
Yeah.
So we do tell our students, figure things out, make sure you can set aside that time and be free for these 20 weeks of clinicals.
Yeah.
That you go
Set aside that puke bucket, right?
Yep. or get a bigger one.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the nurse practitioner programs that we have, we've just recently changed things, and the changes that we make a lot of times go along with the guidelines that the national organization set for us about how many hours you need to become a nurse practitioner. So we've increased our hours for our family nurse practitioner program that just got approved to 840 hours. And students can get those 840 hours over 3 semesters, but that final semester is 336 hours. So we tell our students that by the point that you get to that final semester, you really need to be looking at part-time per diem or working on the weekends, because our preceptors and your clinical immersion experiences need to happen during the week.
All right, so I want to shift gears a little bit about letters of recommendation on an application. What would you consider to be a strong letter of recommendation, and who should it be from?
I think strong letters of recommendation coming from people that have direct experience working with the applicant are critical. It provides insight into work ethic, and even though your work ethic on the job, is the job, it kind of translates to work ethic that you'll have when you are studying and putting in the time and the effort that's going to be needed to do well in graduate school. So I think somebody who works directly with the applicant, that's a key thing.
Okay. So I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I would agree with what Judy said. I would also add that, it's not necessary to try to get some big name to write you a letter of recommendation. We'd much rather have somebody who knows you really well and can vouch for your characteristics. There are a lot of intangibles in the application decision, and if they can talk about your ability to get along with people, that you work well with people, that and describe those kind of characteristics, that can be so much more valuable than what your grades are.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think it's the buzzwords now are emotional intelligence, and people that can display the ability to work well under interesting circumstances and not lose their cool, but they're constantly trying to find a way to fix things and move forward. That's more important than a 3.5, 3.7, 3.8 GPA.
Yeah. So as we're kind of talking about these letters of recommendation, you guys mentioned experience in the work setting. But what about a student that is coming directly from an undergraduate program?
Mm-hmm.
Does that have any factor to it?
No, nurses are a weird bunch.
Yeah.
And we've got all kinds of folks across the country who say, oh, you shouldn't be a nurse practitioner. You shouldn't even think about going to school till you've had a couple years of experience. Then you have the other side of the aisle that says, what do you think they're doing while they're in school? Yeah. They're working. So I think that there are no hard and fast rules. I think that in any program, anywhere, a student would be able to do well if they have great organizational abilities and they've got some emotional wherewithal about managing the stress, good support systems, all of that kind of stuff lined up. It doesn't matter if you're a brand new undergrad graduate, or if you've been somebody who's been working in the field for a long time. Sometimes I think the folks that work in the field as an RN for a long time before going back to school, they may be a little bit at a disadvantage because they're so conditioned to thinking as an RN, and now we're asking them to think like a healthcare provider, like NPs are. Yeah. So it's a little bit up in the air.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Yeah, and our program's the same. We get everything from people coming straight out of undergraduate to people that have been working as a physical therapist assistant for 15 years. So we see quite a bit of variety there. And again, I don't think one is better or worse than the other. But when you're thinking letters of recommendation, again, if you're coming right from undergraduate, we do like to have somebody that can vouch for your ability to work with others and your interest in things other than just school and things that show that you have a real, I guess you could say, a real caring for how other people are doing.
Mm-hmm. So if you're coming straight from an undergrad program, then how do you have an employer write you a letter of recommendation when you don't even have an employer? Are you asking professors? That's what I would suggest students do, is ask professors, but you guys have a very unique two programs where you have to have some type of experience in that world.
Yeah, I think that, as somebody who's a brand new graduate from an undergraduate program, having faculty recommendations or clinical faculty who may have observed the student while they were in their undergraduate program, they could also vouch for them. But I think the key thing is really what Scott had said, and that is it's the ability to work with other people. And work, it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting paid for that work, but it just means that you have the ability to work in a team environment and you understand that no man can do everything all by themselves.
Yeah, so many of the undergraduate programs now require experiences in areas where the students might be interested. So we're getting a lot of people who may be like a health sciences major, but they just finished 100 hours working at a physical therapy clinic. So the same idea, if you can get a good recommendation from the people that you're working with there, and they can vouch for, again, not only your intelligence, but also for your ability to show interest in other people, caring for other individuals, and just good interpersonal skills.
I must have had some really good letters of recommendation then. Not gonna lie. I'm curious if you still have them lying around somewhere that I could read them.
Okay, Rami, they weren't that good. All right, you gotta tone it down a little bit.
Must have sealed the deal for me.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we only accept 35 a cohort.
Yeah.
Dr. Bealey's program,
Yeah.
So
one of the lucky 35.
Yeah. Starting 35. So, so if you guys could kind of tell our guest how exactly they should go about when to apply to graduate school, when to think about applying to graduate school, or if they're career changers, and I think Dr. Bealey, you're probably seeing more of the career changers, you said, or major changers like health sciences, but maybe then wants to go directly into PT. But Judy, you've been probably seeing people having to go back and take some prereq classes in order to be qualified for the master's in nursing. So can you talk a little bit about that, how to prepare that type of student to apply to a master's in nursing or a doctor of physical therapy program?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're talking about what we call second career people. Mm-hmm. So maybe somebody graduated a long time ago and they had a Bachelor of Science and who knows what they did.
Yeah.
But then somebody said, hey, you should be a nurse. And they would need to get the Bachelor of Science in Nursing piece completed before they could come into a master's program. And pretty much all Master of Science in Nursing programs require that you graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from an accredited college.
Yeah.
That's pretty much universal across the nation. So anywhere that somebody would be looking to complete that accelerated BSN program, they don't have to take the entire bachelor's load all over again. They just need to do the nursing pieces of it.
Would you recommend that they do their undergrad studies at the same place that they are wanting to do their master's?
No, that's not necessary because, I know lots of folks that have had a Bachelor of Science and wanted to apply to the same university where they got the Bachelor of Science. They wanted to apply and get their nursing degree. And for whatever reason, here or there, things didn't work out that would allow that. I've known folks that have gone to community college and gotten their Associate of Science in nursing and then finished the 2 courses that you need at a university to get the bachelor's piece, and then you can go into the master's. There's 9 million ways to get to the end goal.
Yeah. Good insights.
But Scott, what's it like for you?
Yeah, we have a fair number of second career individuals. I would say most of our students are students that kind of recognize that they really liked physical therapy and pursued a job in physical therapy, so they worked as an aide or actually became a physical therapist assistant. But we have a handful of people that, graduated with a bachelor's degree, took on some type of profession, but as the years go by, decide I'd like to go back to school and try physical therapy instead. So the nice thing about our program is it really allows those people to go back to school. Like currently we have an accountant in our program. We have a lawyer in our program, people that decided to try something different. And
that's way different.
Yeah, way different. And for our program, you don't need to have a special bachelor's degree to apply to it. You can have a bachelor's in anything. You just need to complete a handful of prerequisites. If you've had those courses completed, then you can go ahead and apply. But there's not a great demand to go back to school and get extra credits as long as you have those prerequisites completed.
Yeah. I think that's like one of the toughest things somebody could do is take that on and say, I want to change my career, but I have to take like 8 steps back in order to take like 20 steps forward. Yeah. And that's like...
Yeah, that's daunting. And I think somebody's really got to have a very strong reason for why they would undertake doing something like that. But we've seen second career people often. And I think that the younger generation, Scott and I are old.
Stop it.
The younger generation now, there's no holds barred. They graduate with a Bachelor of Arts, that's fine. And then they work for a few years and say, I don't feel like doing this anymore. They're fearless and they jump right back into it and they are quite successful. So I'd never say never, but from where I sit, I'm not doing that.
It's so interesting to see the newer generation come along because they really do career hop like every 5 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no like set in stone fact. I'm sure there is some facts and figures out there, but I don't have them on hand. But it seems like the students that I see applying more often than not, they are kind of tailoring their career towards something different.
Yeah.
And it's encouraging at the same time to see that.
Well, it's encouraging, but the old people like us have to kind of get over ourselves saying, you've dropped hop. I mean, when we were looking to apply for positions, having more than like 1 or 2 previous jobs was held against us.
Wow.
And it's just not the climate anymore, right? So, we have to be flexible as an industry to, to consider all the different reasons why somebody may want to get out of one field that they're in and go into a different one.
I'm so happy that you said that, because I think when students are thinking about graduate school, and I'm usually the first point of contact that they talk to, and a lot of times they'll say, well, I'm terrified because, like, what if I get denied because they see this on my resume, or they see in my list of majors that I was, you know, another major, and then I switched to this major and then another major. So we're accepting. That's
As
the
long
point.
as you get the bachelor's at the end of the night, at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And more people need to be accepting of that, because it's not always a set in stone thing. I want to do this and I want to do it for the rest of my life. That's not it anymore.
No.
And
Yeah.
the worst thing to do is stay in a job that doesn't give you fulfillment,
Oh,
something
that's
that you don't enjoy. And the interesting thing about our program, our oldest graduate was 55 years old. He was a math teacher who worked for a while in that profession and decided, you know, I'm tired of this, so I want to go back to school and try physical therapy. So we've definitely had some older individuals making these changes and come through our program.
Yeah. I see you're 55 and I raise you. My oldest graduate was 60.
No kidding.
Yeah.
For them.
And it was the same thing. I'm tired of doing what I've always done, and I want to do something different. I want something better. Even if I'm only going to work for another 5 to 7 years, I want it to be something that brings me joy and fulfills me. And so if you're in a job that does not do that for you, you have to consider, no matter how you slice or dice it, you're going to be working for a long time, which is something that my 20-year-old has difficulty comprehending. You're going to be working for a long time, so it might as well be doing something that really lights you up and makes you excited to go to
Yeah.
work.
With Social Security up in there, you might be working until you're 80. at this
Oh,
point.
dear God.
That's fine. I think I can
Rami, you
work
excited about that? You'll be a physical therapist, so you'll be able to stretch the right way and just kind of
I'll
like
be able to move
adapt.
until I'm 80. It's fine. It's no big deal.
It's no worries.
Let's hope so. I mean, knock on wood. Are there any, like when we were talking about people jumping from job to job and how that's how the job market or climate is now, are there any red flags for you guys in terms of that at all, or no? Like if someone worked one job for like 2 months but they put it on their resume, would you bring it up to them and be like, why was it only 2 months? Like, what did you learn from that?
I'm always about having the conversation, you know. Tell me about your history and where you've worked, and it kind of gives me a sense of, you know, I started to work in the operating room and realized I could not stand on my feet for 10 hours a day, and I had to do something different. You know, there can be a million easy answers, but it's just, I would say don't be afraid of it. Just, you know, be prepared to have the honest conversation about, you know, why there might be a short little work history. But I don't know of any red flags.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. There's really nothing that should discourage you from applying. I mean, people think, oh, I shouldn't apply because I'm too old, or I shouldn't apply because I got a D in physics, and you know, and I honestly feel like what Judy said is we have a conversation. So our program requires interviews, so we see the application, we see the grades, we see the work history. But then the applicant has a chance to explain all that and talk about what they went through or why they decided to do the things they did, and that often is enough to support that individual and let them start in the program.
Yeah,
So-
you heard it here first, guys. Don't let that discourage you at all.
Yeah.
As we're talking about interviews, how should a student prepare for an admission interview?
Golden question.
I am very laid back, and I think that a lot of folks in my position are pretty laid back. It's really just a conversation. It's kind of like when young men wanted to date my daughters. You know, if you can't come to my house and hold a conversation and complete a sentence, then there's going to be an issue. It's really just having a conversation and kind of helping the student solidify, validate that this is what they're doing, this is what they want to be doing. A lot of people have, you know, I don't know that they're afraid of the interview so much, but I think that they're always terrified of that final year.
Right.
Like, what is that really going to mean for me? And I think that, in the doctoral programs, some doctoral programs have dissertations, some doctoral programs have scholarly projects. There's so much unknown about that. And I think a lot of students want to focus on the end. Mm-hmm. And we have to kind of like slow them down and put the brakes on, because you need to center your attention on what needs to happen in years 1 and 2 before you can get to that final thing. Because if we tell you everything we know, your brain's going to explode.
Right.
So we purposely don't say everything all at once because we don't want to overwhelm people.
So all I'm expecting is somebody just really give me an honest, response to questions. And again, like what Judy said, this is one chance that we get to see your ability to interact with others, your interpersonal skills. So you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to have a conversation. So we get to see that. Some people, you can tell, read through your bio and they tell you about things that you did. I don't think that's necessary at all. I want to hear.
You know what you've done.
I know what I've done. So
I did that.
Yeah, I want to hear what you've done and be prepared to be honest and open. And if there are things that you think might give us pause for accepting you, then be prepared to discuss those. It's a one-on-one interview. There's nobody else listening to it. There's no recording. So just be open and have a good conversation.
Yeah, I think that, when we're in an interview, a lot of times we're quiet and we're letting the applicant talk. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones to bring up to us. Oh, I should tell you about this, and this. And that starts the conversation. Mm-hmm. So don't be afraid. Just be truthful. Yeah.
I might have to contact you about having a conversation just to practice for my future.
Yes.
Feel like I can't hold down anything.
It's a nervous conversation that you're having. I think when you say the word interview, it's automatically like you start shaking in your boots a little bit. But when you call it a conversation, then automatically it just gets it feels better. It feels lighter already. But I don't know, you scaring your daughter's boyfriends away, that kind of scared me a little bit.
Well,
they can't handle
I've
her.
got one married. I've got one married and one still searching. So
see, it works out for some people.
It does. It does work out for some people.
I mean, I remember during the DPT interviews last year, a lot of them were really nervous about talking to faculty. But when they heard me actually tell them, hey, like, it's just conversations, be yourselves and just be straight up and honest.
Yeah.
It kind of relaxes them a little bit. So I might have played a part in getting a few people into the program.
Good.
I didn't give them any answers or anything like that, but just calm down, relax.
Yeah, just calm down.
Take it easy.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've had older folks in both of our programs, and I myself am back in doctoral school. So, at the age that I am, I say to anybody else, you can do this. Mm-hmm. I think it's just building that self-confidence and helping folks realize if you've got the support system and you've got, a way to organize your life so you can devote time that's needed to this, you'll be able to do it.
I think that's a good spot right there. You'll be able to do it.
You'll be able to do it.
Well, so we just want to thank you guys for coming out, giving us some insight scoop on what you're looking at as students apply for graduate school.
Thank you for taking the time out of your days. I'm sure you both are very busy.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, it was fun.
Of course.
We always like to talk about our programs.
Of course. I'm very familiar with that. Man, I remember when I went through that whole interview process.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure that was daunting, as they say.
Like I always like to say. Yeah. Oh.
Did you interview with Dr. Bealey?
Unfortunately, no. Second best person, maybe.
Wonderful man.
Dr. Haddad. That's what I interviewed with.
Another great gentleman.
Well, all the faculty are great gentlemen and women, but
that's very true. You're right.
That was not what I expected my interview to be like at all.
No.
I expected him to be like in a suit, like ready to talk to me and like have questions and his face is like right in the mic. This dude was just like hanging out in his chair in like a polo shirt, just having a casual conversation with me. And I'm sitting there, hands held together on the desk, full suit on. Like, you can only see the top. For all you knew, I was wearing like shorts.
Oh, wow.
And a jacket and a button down.
Was this virtual or this is in person?
This was virtual.
Oh.
Yeah, so we were still in like COVID protocol things. They didn't start the in-person interviews until last year again.
Wow.
Yeah, the ones that we did.
As Judy, Professor Judy Neubauer was saying,
Yes.
it's literally a conversation.
Well, with him, yes. It was literally conversation. I think it matters the personality of the interviewer as well, because everybody has slightly different styles and everybody reacts to different things in different ways.
Yeah.
So I have people that are chronic worriers in my class, like worry people. They worry a lot. Not warriors, but worriers.
Yeah.
And they're like,
They
oh my
become
God.
warriors, maybe,
do.
they become doctors.
After we get through anatomy.
Yes.
But back to the point. Chronic warriors who always look at like not the brightest side of everything. They're not optimistic, but they're like, oh my God, I was interviewing and I felt like I didn't get through the interview at all. Like, I think I bombed that. It was the worst interview I've ever had. They were like really stern and they didn't show any emotion or anything I can work off of to get through my interview, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, was I that fortunate to get who I got? But every time I talk to all these professors, they're all so nice. And then every time I brought a student to interview in December, they were all so nice.
Yeah.
So I think they understand what it's like as a potential student who's like worrying about getting into school or interviewing for school, that they try to make it a little easier and just say, oh, it's just a conversation, because it really is.
Yeah.
They just want to see who you are. Just be honest. Understand your faults. Be self-aware. Know what you got to improve on. And the rest will come to you. Yeah. That's what I had to do. I came in like guns blazing. I knew this guy's research back from front and back page. Like during the group orientation stage on Zoom, I was just sitting there looking up every single professor on the website and getting like all the big ideas of what their research was on, just so I had like one topic.
You knew him better than he knew him at that point.
At that point, yeah. He would have been surprised. I didn't have to get into that research for him.
Yeah.
I was hoping I was getting Dr. Bailey because I was really interested in spine research at the time.
Right.
But then I got Dr. Dad, and he was all about like microbiology and some other orthopedic things. But it was cool either way. I still had a talking point if I needed it.
Yeah, if you needed it. And that's like that's the key, because they don't necessarily always want to hear about themselves in this situation where you're speaking or interviewing with a faculty member in the program you're applying for. They don't want to hear about themselves. They want to hear about you. Exactly. And how well you're going to adapt to the program or fit into the program, the type of environment and culture the students are. You know, they just want to make sure about that.
Exactly. And a funny thing that came out of that conversation was I asked him based on his last name. I'm like, dude, are you a Lebanese? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I am too. That's crazy. And he's like, how'd you know? And I was like, oh, your last name screams Lebanese. And I know a bunch of people with that last name. So it was just another point of conversation. So we
that could have gone left field very fast.
It could have, but I was very fortunate. It was something that I could point out to right away.
Right.
My Lebanese radar like was beeping. So it's amazing that I lucked out the way that I did.
I think when Professor Neubauer and Dr. Bealey were talking about changing careers, that was like, that's huge. Like in today's world, to change careers and it be okay and not look bad. Like Professor Neubauer was like, in her time, if you change careers, it just
death sentence.
Yeah, death sentence.
Yeah, I have people that I know now that are like not satisfied in their jobs, and they're like, I wish I could change careers. I'm like, then go to school. Go. Like, yeah, you're only 50. You got your whole life ahead of you.
Right.
50 is the new 30 at this point.
Seriously, we are living longer. So.
Yeah, but people just don't realize that yet. I mean, I feel like I get bored doing something.
Yeah.
Like I need a whole bunch of things to keep me going. Like I need other hobbies as well. It's not like I just want this job.
Technically,
I love PT. Don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna have other things I want to do that's on top of PT.
Yeah, you have to be versatile. I mean, it almost looks better to have a different background because you have a different perspective.
Yeah.
And you literally had a different background. You were not a pre-PT major in undergrad.
Psychology and religion double major. Two of the most abstract things you can ever think of. Psychology is something that everybody likes to major in, but
Right.
the material itself is so abstract because there's so much gray area that people don't know about. It's just sort of inferring
Exactly.
different things based on people's behavior. Then religion is just like helping you understand people's different cultural backgrounds and what's appropriate and what's inappropriate in terms of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone could, like if you go out to shake someone's hand, some people would be like, no, I'm not allowed to touch your hand. That's inappropriate in my culture. I can't do that. Other cultures see that as a sign of respect. So
Yeah.
it varies from country to country, from land to land. You know, you can't ever be sure. It's something that I think was very beneficial for me to learn about.
That is like the perfect example how literally anything can relate.
Yeah.
You can have a totally different career and somehow use that to your benefit to apply
Exactly.
to a completely different field.
Because you never know who's going to walk into your clinic. Right?
That's very
I'm
true.
from New York. There's literally every culture you can think of is in New York. The whole big melting pot of the world, as they say.
Yeah.
So I can have one person that comes from India. I can have someone from the Middle East. I could have someone from Europe come in. And they all have different definitions of what's appropriate and what's inappropriate.
yeah.
But it all comes down to treating each person with respect. And you'll be treated with respect too.
Yeah. That's all it
That's
is.
the one constant that I think
Yeah.
pops out to me.
I think in all of this, the main important thing to say is to never give up. Don't give up on your goals if you want to switch careers.
Exactly.
Switch careers. You want to switch your major from your undergrad to your grad. Don't be afraid to apply to that program that has nothing to do with your undergrad program.
Exactly. So now
Go
I can-
out, go forth and conquer.
No, that's a great analogy phrase. I'm thinking like maybe I'll come check back in like 20 years and see where I'm at.
Yeah.
Let you
Honestly,
know.
5 years from now, I might completely change my
Yeah.
perspective
Who knows where
on.
you'll be in 5 years?
This is true. I could be a stay-at-home mom.
Wouldn't you love that?
Oh, that would be the life.
They'd miss you in the grad admissions office because you just do everything.
Of course.
I hope the next person wouldn't want a million Excel spreadsheets and Word documents.
I swear, we're
Lighten
gonna
the
have
load on
like
them.
we have to have an episode just on Excel spreadsheets.
We need to have a
Please.
policy
me.
on Excel spreadsheets. That's what we need.
I already wrote one.
Well, of course. Sure you did. Man, you have everything, don't you?
I do. I literally do. I'm your
Hey,
girl.
Jess.
When people write on their resume that they're proficient.
Proficient.
Yeah, right. When they write on their resumes when they're proficient in Excel and Word, I seriously mean that. Okay.
No, you seriously mean it.
Oh yeah.
So if you read someone else's resume and they say that they're proficient in Excel or Word or any of these
I need proof.
tools, you need proof.
I do.
You're going to give them a test right there on the spot.
Yep. I'll give them an interview
I love that.
or a
great.
conversation.
I don't like that word. That spells doom sometimes.
Oh no.
Well, thanks for listening in.
We appreciate all the listeners for this banter that we go back and forth with each episode.
We have an endless amount of this stuff, so keep tuning in. We won't disappoint. Take care. See you in the next episode.
See you guys.